Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we're going to talk about a very serious issue, which is child abuse and what we can do to help prevent it or to raise awareness of it. I have two guests, Bessie Marie Renner from Champions for Children and Chuck Elinsky from the Exchange Club. Now, at first glance, it would seem like you guys don't have a lot in common. What has brought the Exchange Club into this issue?
Well, the Exchange Club has been part of the child abuse prevention working since 1979. It was voted at our annual convention to be our national project. And since 1979, 35 years, we've been involved with a number of different projects. We have our own CAP centers. We have 75 CAP, child abuse prevention centers, coast to coast. And the statistics that I can share are the fact that over the course of 35 years, we have helped 780,000 families and 1.8 million children break the cycle of child abuse.
That is just, it's an impressive statistic that you've helped, but it's a little bit of a depressing statistic. Bessie Marie, do you want to tell us a little bit about the problem and locally how bad it is compared to anywhere else?
Well, if you look at the fiscal year statistics, and keep in mind the fiscal year for government ends on June 30th. So from June 1st, 2012 until June 30th, 2013, there were over 14,000 calls that occurred in the Hampton Roads area with regards to child abuse and neglect. That's a lot. I mean, if you look at one elementary school, one middle school, and one high school, that's more than all of the number of students combined. So over 14,000. Here locally in Hampton, we had a little over 80 cases that were abuse and neglect founded. So there were 80 caregivers that committed the crime of abuse and neglect against our most vulnerable citizens. So it's a horrible statistic. Nobody likes to hear it. Nobody wants to talk about it. But in working with the Exchange Club, we're now able to get that message out even further than we were before with regards to making sure that people understand what's going on and what we can do to prevent it.
Well, and that's an important part of it, because frankly, I'll be honest, I hear a depressing statistic like that and I just go, I can't do anything, I'm going to give up. I mean, it's hard.
It is hard, but the one thing that I tell everybody that I come in contact with is that you can do something. If you see something, say something. And if that means, helping out a neighbor that needs help, or maybe it's a friend that's overwhelmed. A lot of these cases come about just from the simple, and I say simple, but just stress. It's stress related.
Exhaustion.
Exactly. And it's not like our children are born into this world with an instruction manual that comes with them from the hospital. I mean, I know for myself with my own son, nobody told me up front exactly what I was going to run into, and here I am in the teenage years, and I'm really learning, learning a few things here and there. But I think just being able to help one another and work together, and that's what this collaboration with the Exchange Club is really all about, is coming together as a community and being able to address the issue. But again, something as simple as helping a neighbor out, or if you see Johnny with bruises repeatedly, something might be wrong. Or if a child that's normally very exuberant and outgoing all of a sudden becomes really distant, or is not himself, something might be going on there. So it's that communication piece.
So, what do you tell? I mean, I do think that having a network is so important. If you're a young parent, particularly if you're a single parent, or if you don't have family resources in the area, if your spouse is deployed.
Right.
I mean, I just think there are so many times when you could face, or you do face exhaustion, and you might do something you didn't really intend to do.
Right.
How do you intervene or prevent or defuse that situation?
Well, if you're somebody that's on the outside looking in, one of the resources that we have available is 1-800-CHILDREN. That's a state hotline that gives parents the ability to pick up the phone and talk to somebody on the other end and say, I'm stressed, or I can't handle this, or my child's screaming in the background. What do I do? The other piece is that social services actually is a resource for folks to be able to kind of talk through things. They can help refer you to other agencies that could assist you. And then, of course, working with your family and friends, just picking up the phone and calling someone, or going
just
next
being
door.
able to vent.
Right.
I'm not going to do anything, but holy cow, I want to.
Right.
Or I'm just so frustrated right now.
Right. And sometimes we as parents need that 10 minutes of decompression. And, if your neighbor's there, can you just watch my kids just for a second? I need to go outside and take 10 seconds to myself. Something as simple as that can be so helpful and can prevent something from occurring that, as you say, the parent wouldn't have intended. I don't think there's any parent that has a child that's brought into this world thinking, I'm going to beat the bejesus out of them, or I'm going to hurt them. That's not the intention. It's just life happens. So let's take those moments and learn from them and not become an abuser.
Right. And I think the other thing that's important is that sometimes people don't reach out for help. And they need to know there's no stigma attached. I mean, Hampton's Youth Education and Families has a lot of programs that are free to Hampton residents and that give you a chance to interact with other parents, with other children, to learn skills. And then you make those connections and you do have somebody to call if you need a resource.
Exactly, and that's the approach that the Exchange Club has taken. We try to have preventative measures as well as an education system. We have a vast array of literature, starting from when a child is in the womb, fetal alcohol syndrome, as a matter of fact. And then another well-known one, and we have literature and go out and educate folks, is the shaken baby syndrome, which I think a lot of people are familiar with. It's a great campaign that's very important to get that word out. But the Exchange Club goes from pre-birth to teenage years. It goes up to internet predator type of literature that makes people aware of what's going on. But
I think, teenage girls in this day and age are very vulnerable to internet issues, to sexting, to that different kind of peer pressure that I think parents don't necessarily see unless they're very, very plugged in.
Right. Well, and we also provide bullying education, which includes that cyberbullying, what you were just referring about. So please understand, abuse and neglect is not just one small issue. It's actually a culmination of many issues that cover from the time a child is prenatal all the way till they're an adult.
Wow. Well, let's talk, we've been mostly talking about abuse. What about neglect? How big of an issue is that? What are some things that you tend to see?
Well, please know that abuse and neglect, as defined by the state of Virginia, has to be the intentional means.
Okay.
So just because a family is in a financial situation where they're unable doesn't mean that there aren't other resources out there to help them. So just because they need help doesn't mean that it's automatically an abuse case or a neglect case. So please know that up front. I try to tell everybody that. With neglect, not intentionally not taking care of a child, and a lot of it comes from substance abuse issues, mental health issues. So there's a lot of things that come into play that can create a situation of neglect. But if a family needs help, as far as getting food for their children, making sure that they're clothed well, their necessities, things of that sort, there are plenty of resources here in Hampton that can help with that.
So don't get too discouraged. Don't be
Right.
afraid to reach out and ask for help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's a hard thing for people sometimes. And sometimes you may do it once and not get the right place and not get the help you need, and then you're like, nobody cares.
Right. Absolutely. And I know that the Department of Social Services unfortunately has this light that's shown on it that's not so favorable in the community sometimes.
Right. People are afraid, if I say something, they'll take my child.
Right. And please know that they're there to help. I mean, that was the reason that agency was founded, was to be able to provide assistance. And the great thing is there are resources and referrals that they can give, here in the community that will help with maybe acquiring food or shelter or necessity items, medical care, all of that.
I suspect it's particularly difficult for people with a special needs child, or a child who, has colic or just cries for hours on end. I mean, there's a lot of things that, people who have easy children might go, it's a cakewalk, and other people might just be struggling.
Absolutely, and that's where that 1-800-CHILDREN hotline comes in to help again. If you don't want to talk to social services, 1-800-CHILDREN, call them. They'll be able to refer you to the right place, and they'll be able to give you numbers to support groups that are here in the community.
And that's so helpful.
Absolutely.
You don't need to be low income or anything else to
Right.
just take advantage of sometimes the support groups. And
Right.
then you meet people and you can trade off kids and you can have a night off or a morning off. And
Right, right.
it can
And it's
be-
that support that you were talking about earlier. That's what it comes
You start to feel
down
like
to.
you're not crazy. If other people are only worried about this one issue at this time, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Okay,
You're on
well,
point.
so let's talk a little bit about, why timing-wise, why you're here today, because April is,
Child Abuse Prevention Month, and our color is blue.
okay,
And yes, there are a couple of reasons, and I can speak for the Exchange Club, is that our first big event that we're trying for the very first time and are very hopeful to have it become an annual event is lighting up City Hall in blue lights, which is going to happen on Monday, April 7th of this
or
year.
it did happen, depending on when you're
Or-
watching this show.
Exactly.
But you have other things going on, too.
Yes, we certainly do. On Mercury Boulevard, in conjunction with St. Paul's Lutheran Church, we're going to have a pinwheel field where all of our local exchange clubs are planting pinwheels into the ground. Wind will blow them and draw attention to our cause. And we're going to have, I believe, over 1,000 or 1,200 pinwheels involved there.
That's fantastic.
Also, the big weekend is the third weekend of April. The National Exchange Club, all the exchange clubs coast to coast have Child Abuse Prevention Day, which is Saturday, I believe the 19th of April this year, where we go out into the community and have child abuse prevention programs and education opportunities. And,
So you do the awareness events to kind of draw attention, and then you move into with those hands-on workshops where you help people get information, get resources.
Exactly, and we're just very proud to be able to join with these fine organizations to be able to be part of that program, because it's a very serious subject and something that's we need to tackle.
Well, it is, and I appreciate you tackling it, because I do think it's one of the things that's just so sad and so depressing that sometimes people turn off and don't want to see it. And really bringing it out, no matter how personally uncomfortable it is good to shine a light on the problem and to remind people to be aware, to look, and to be that support.
Right.
Certainly.
Right. Well, and please feel free. Our web address is championsforchildrenhr.org. Our web address actually has statistics on there. It also talks about things to help with prevention, and then we have a calendar that includes the events during April for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Please feel free to visit that. If you need that as a resource, it's available there in the community too.
Okay,
So-
well, thank you, Bessie Marie.
Sure, and likewise, we have an Exchange Club website. It's www.exchangeclubfoundation.org, which is our child abuse prevention of the Exchange Club, National Exchange Club, and we have an array of information and links to areas where you can find help.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Thank you both for coming today.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope that taking a big problem like child abuse and preventing it is something that you can break down and think about one little piece at a time, and that this month during April, maybe you'll have time to join in some of the Exchange Club events or go to one of these two websites and learn a little bit more. Thank you for watching.